I was just noticing there are a lot of intro to Kratom videos out there, and people are feeling pretty comfortable just kind of talking about it. So I suppose even though I'm no chemical expert, it's okay to let you know what I know. So I've had about 6 months worth of experience with the stuff, and right off the bat, I want to give you a warning. I was Googling the other day about Kratom and health, and maybe long-term effects, or can I overuse Kratom, something like that. And a subreddit came up, and someone's testimony was that they used it heavily for 5 years and then had a heart attack that they are pretty certain was caused directly by the Kratom. Now, they said they were using it very intensely and that they've cut way back. It's interesting how hard it can be to quit things. But luckily, I have not personally found that Kratom is hardly ever physically addictive, but it can leave me depressed if I use it pretty heavily. Like if I'm taking 10 or 15 grams a day for a long period of time, like let's say a month or two, and then I quit cold turkey, I can get pretty depressed, and that might be correlated. I was finding that I could get it for about $100 a kilo online, and that was at Organic Kratom USA, but that seems to have changed. Now they're only selling quarter kilos for, it works out to like $42 delivered. You can also check out Oasis Kratom. I haven't tried any of their Kratom. I'm actually in the process of looking for some basic Oasis Kratom reviews right now, but at the moment of making this video, they're advertising $72 kilos delivered. Oops. It feels great. It can really help with social anxiety. If you're worried about doing larger amounts, becoming more dependent on it, having health problems, I can highly recommend smaller amounts. It makes a huge difference. I've struggled a lot with caffeine addiction. I'm working on bribing myself with Kratom in exchange for coffee. The Kratom hurts my stomach way less, though it does still kind of affect my IBS. It doesn't feel great, but again, it's way less, and it makes me feel good instead of making me feel paranoid like coffee does, or at least it certainly used to, and it still often can. It can give me a lot of that confidence that I'm mostly addicted to coffee for, the kind of way it quells my anxiety. And it's interesting how coffee really backfires on the anxiety, but the Kratom doesn't so much. It can kind of, if I do too much at once, it can kind of drop me. If I just slam 5 grams and then, you know, about that, I'm guesstimating. I'm like, I should probably give you tablespoons, like, you know, 5 or 6 tablespoons a day is pretty heavy use for me, and that was what could lead to depression. Anything less, and not really. And if I took like 2 tablespoons or 3 tablespoons and pretty much drank all that real quick, then 2 hours later it might kind of drop me off on the side of the road and say, get out. And my friends might be like, oh, why are you grumpy all of a sudden? And it's because I'm suddenly getting chemically dumped of, you know, however many grams of Kratom that might be. Like heaping tables, like a regular, not so much a heaping tablespoon, a regular decent size spoon, not one of the smaller spoons. Not one of the smaller spoons that's like normal, but like one of those medium-sized spoons. Pretty average, not the huge ones, but a medium standard spoon, heaping over like 2 or 3 of those all at once. It's like, I am finding that I get an astounding amount of results from even a quarter of that. Like even just leftover powder in a bag that barely adds up to 1 teaspoon, one like maybe heaping teaspoon. And especially if it's been a few days, if I'm feeling a little down and my system is kind of cleared out, that'll make an amazing difference. So you really don't need much of it. The tricky part, like any drug, is kind of disciplining yourself. So I don't know, luckily it's cheap and there don't appear to be any adverse health effects that accumulate very quickly, but I would not do more than 5 or 6 tablespoons a day. And I would not do 5 or 6 tablespoons a day for more than a few days at a time. And certainly not for 5 years, because that's freaking terrifying. Dude had a heart attack. And he said he was having like slight multiple organ failure, like he felt pain in his liver and was in denial, but it was the kratom. So, don't do that. I've heard of it being such a potent relief of anxiety and other addictions that people have come off of heroin, off of even shooting heroin. And I was also using it to replace alcohol. When I first got started, that was when I was using it heavily. Now I'm way more casual about it. I mean, I was kind of going through a kilo a month for a few months there. So it did an amazing job of helping me replace the alcohol. It even would help me replace alcohol when I was drinking. If I would start doing some kratom, I would lose interest in alcohol. And if I would do some kratom before alcohol, it would actually make the alcohol taste gross and feel bad. So almost working like that one medicine that they give you that makes it so that you get violently ill if you have any alcohol, except that medicine is horrible. So like that, but way better. So I think that's about all I know. Oh, Meng Da is not a real strain. That's like a made-up strain. And the colors are like not really either. All this stuff is super easy to Google. Kratom strains, truth, fiction. Google terms like that, you'll find out plenty. They all come from red trees. They're all red vein originally. The drying process, whether they were dried indoors or outdoors, and other details of how they were dried, determine whether they become a white, a yellow, or a green, or a red. In terms of the locale strain, those might have some validity to them, but like I said, Meng Da is made up. It literally looks like it means awesome strain in the original language, maybe the original Thai, I'm not sure. So, with that, I bid you adieu, and thank you for watching, and also, don't forget to Google around and see what you can find out. And especially, please feel free to let me know in the comments below if you have any additional information about health concerns, truth versus fiction with regard to the strains, and other factoids like that. I love when people know how to dig under the surface of things and find out what maybe some people don't always want you to know. All right. Appreciate you. Much love.